can do it. All right, let's get started then. Jessica, how's it going?
Doing great, man. How about you?
Doing real good, I'm glad to get you over here, and especially after we just had Marcus on. So it's going to be cool to get both sides of the story here and hear it from both angles for sure. So you tell me, I mean, this is what I feel like is like what I've seen or the little bit that I know, and then I'll let you get into it. But I want to get right into kind of giving people an idea of you and your story a little bit. But to me, it's like from what I've seen, it's like you go from selling clothes on a clothing boutique online or something to where you're at now, traveling the world and been on HBO Ballers and all this stuff where it's like, what has that been like? I mean, I know that's a loaded question. That's a big question.
That's a big jump.
But like, does it feel like it's been like just something crazy? Does it feel like it's been that drastic?
I mean, 100%. I feel like I'm still the same person, but there's so many different people that have come out of that journey. So starting off just having that mindset of wanting to have my own and like being willing to do whatever it takes to really get there has been kind of like the backbone for everything. But I mean, the journey's been crazy. We literally just met. So there's been so much that you just got a little glimpse from Marcus' interview.
Yeah, we're going to get into it for sure. We're going to get into it for sure because I feel like I know bits and pieces. I picked up a little bit from social media and I've talked to you and talked to Marcus and it.
Instagram stalking.
You know it. Like I said, when you might have heard me.
How far back did you go?
All the way.
To the start of my Instagram?
All the way.
Holy shish.
Nah, you can say whatever. We like to be real. But no, that's usually what I do. If I can, like if somebody's so loaded that I'm like, I'll never make it. But that's what I do. I like to get a gauge from talking to people and interacting with people for sure. But it's crazy how nowadays, man, that's like how you can, if someone is real and post a decent amount of who they are, you get a really good gauge from that person. So like there's definitely people that you know that you see the memes and all that, they ain't who they post to be. So there's plenty of those. But
post to be.
Right.
I just got it.
Oh, okay. But it's not my joke, so I can't take credit for that. But there's definitely people that I've seen and you either meet after the fact or you talk to them and or you know them ahead of time before you see their social and you're like, that's not who you are. That's not who you are. So, I mean, I hope that I'm as real as possible. And it seems like with the guests that I brought on, it definitely seems that way. Like, it seems like people are pretty genuine in that you guys are putting out a lot of who you are because, I mean, a lot of the people come on, you guys are a brand. You know what I mean? And this is who you are. And nowadays, that's what people want. They want that realness. They want your story. And so, yeah, I try to go all the way back and see what I can do. And that's how I can say, like, and start some conversation.
That's how you got that paper.
Yeah. You know it. So I have a good idea at least of a little bit more information than just a little bit that we've talked. You know, like you said, we just met, so there hasn't been a whole lot of convo about it so far. But I also think it's awesome. You're the first female to come on. So
really?
yeah. So
I like that.
So
Thank you. It's an
honor. You get a little title here too. But I was thinking like so. After the people listen to this podcast and after I listen to this podcast and go through it, it's like, is people going to say this is Marcus's wife or he's Jess's husband? I mean, we're going to see for sure. I know it's kind of right. I know it's kind of corny, but I'm just like, man, I think that your story and everything and a lot of what I've heard so far and how much of a savage you are on the business side and in the gym too, is that I think a lot of people are going to be really inspired by it and get a lot of things out of this that they really see what I'm talking about. Like see maybe people that know you or that are going to listen to this that knew you and Marcus before, but maybe look at this a little different. You know what I mean? Especially somebody that maybe knows him a little better. But we'll go ahead and get right into it as well. Give me a little bit before we get started of like your origin story, how you grew up, your parents, where, things like that.
Absolutely. And thank you for asking that because my parents are freaking awesome. I so love my family and I know that a lot of the values and everything that make me who I am comes from that. So I was born in Cuba. I was raised in Cuba. I came to the States when I was 12. So that had and always will have a lot of impact into everything that I do because I know a whole nother side that most people have never experienced. So really to be able to see struggles that most of us didn't even think about, like imagine right now we're recording this and the lights just shut off just because the government, like, that's what they want.
Right.
It's like, that's something that we don't even think about. Things like that, water, like just so many different things that we take for granted. I never do, because I've been there knowing that it doesn't have it, it's a luxury and for certain people. So I mean, that really is, a big foundation for myself and for everything that I want to teach to my kids and, to everybody that I'm able to get in contact. And then being able to take Marcus back to Cuba and allow him to experience. I mean, that didn't happen while he was there, so he didn't get to see it. But just for him to see the culture, for him to see the people, for him to see the country, and how there's 1950 cars, like that's all they have. But just how people make it work anyway, regardless of whatever, goes on, really. I think that that's like a big thing of me. It's like, I don't care what it is. I know it's going to happen because I'm willing to make it happen. So my mom always really taught me, if you can get an A, why get a B? So that has always been something that, for me, it's like, why ever try to be second when you always have the choice to be first? And it's not against anybody else, but it's only, with yourself. So shout out to moms.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I like
shout
that
out
a
to
lot.
moms. So for, growing up, it was really like the first thing was always school. It was like, you better, getting an A, it was like, that's what's expected. You're supposed to get A's. Your job right now is to go to school to get A's. Like, you don't have any other job. That's what you're meant to do. So that really taught me to just work hard, like get after it. And granted, I got good grades because I had the talent for it. But then I also had that reinforcement at home that that's what you're supposed to do. So just values like that it was kind of like my upbringing. A lot of love, like overflow with love. Like Marcus, he's like, I never experienced a Spanish family love like
Oh,
that.
it's different.
It's
I've explained
crazy.
to people. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I've definitely explained that to people too. And I always like compare it to, only thing I can compare it to is like what I've seen in the movies and stuff of like Italian families and stuff like that. But as soon as I met the first Spanish friend that I had, that is my friend Miguel, is from the Dominican, that I talked a little bit about with Marcus. Meeting his family going around, it was so crazy to me because they're like, the love, like you said, it's so much a part of everything that they do. And they, from the moment I stepped in front of any of his family, because I came there with him and he spoke about me a certain way, and they treated me like legit like families, to where some people say, oh yeah, they treat me like family. No, like legit, like, you know what I mean? Kissing and hugging me from the jump, nonstop asking me, can they get me something to eat, a blanket, this, that. Yeah, oh, for sure. The food, and the
they
food
want to
is,
feed you.
yeah, and that food is nuts. But yeah, it's that love is amazing.
100%. Yeah, so that's why everything to me is just like, just give as much love as possible, because what else really is there? So that pretty much would sum up my upbringing in a nutshell.
Gotcha. So when and where did the healthy lifestyle come about, and start wanting to get into either eat? Did you start trying to eat better first, or start trying to get into fitness first?
That's a great question too. So I always was athletic. It wasn't like, I played like one sport and I was an athlete at that sport, but I could be good at any sport. Like, you put me in there and I can wing it. But my eating wasn't there. So Spanish family, rice, beans, pork, like just overload of that. And no, I didn't like vegetables. So like when I turned to fitness, I literally had to force myself to eat vegetables. Like, they were not, I did not like them. I had to suck on a lemon to actually eat broccoli.
That's
like,
crazy.
After every single bite, I had to suck on a lemon to like make
a
it
chaser.
Happen.
You needed a chaser.
I needed a chaser. I needed a chaser. And that was like, I knew I wanted to compete. So I knew I had to eat that meal. And it was just like, this is what it is. And that was like my change right there. Just knowing what needed to be done and then having the willingness to do it. And I find that so many people, most of us know what to do, but do we have the willingness to get it done? So
that willpower.
Yeah,
for sure. So was this this was early on when you were still doing sports, or this was as you were an adult and starting thinking about getting fit
So
and all
this
that?
was, I want to say, like 2014.
Gotcha.
So not even that long ago.
Gotcha,
So till
gotcha.
then, I had so many, I don't want to say illnesses because obviously I don't have them anymore. It was just things that came about because of my poor eating choices. So at 15, I had kidney stones. Like
Gotcha.
and the doctors were like, "Oh, you just have a kidney stone." That's not normal. So it's like now being healthy and like being more educated on health, it's like there's so many things that we go through, and you know, doctors and the medical field or whatever, it's like, oh yeah, that's normal, take this. It's not normal. It's not normal. None of that should be happening to us. We need to change our diet. So having that, I went into the fitness without knowing that my nutrition was causing all those issues. But then on the flip side, once I got into it, the more I learned, then it's like looking back, I'm like, I didn't need to go through any of that.
Right.
So that's where everything just opened up for me. And I really just became passionate about sharing that with other people and helping them transform their lives. So I've seen crazy stuff. I've seen people like get rid of high blood pressure, get rid of diabetes, get rid of everything just by changing their nutrition around in a matter of like a month. Some crazy stuff. And it was just amazing to me. But again, people have to have that willingness. So I've seen family members pass away from things that they didn't need to die from. And they didn't have the willingness to make the changes that they needed to do in order to live.
Right. That's been one of the craziest things to me is when I've came across people or friends that I know and their family members, and they have a doctor tell them like, hey, you are on the brink of death, or you are on the brink of something really serious. Especially a lot of people get to right at being pre-diabetic and different things like that. And it's like, even when it is somebody telling them they're going to die, a lot of times people still don't change. And that was really, really surprising to me, because that was a big part of me changing, is me feeling like I was almost going to die when I got really sick from eating poorly and antibiotic that I took and things like that. And it was like that was such a wake up call to me. And it was crazy a second ago for you to say like health issues is kind of what kind of guided you in that direction also. Cause I feel like it's sad, but it's just like the way things happen, that usually that's what it takes for us. It takes something happening to us or something affecting us in a major way to really push us to make the changes. It's a lot of times most people aren't just like, okay, I'm going to start eating healthy today. It's like, you have that. I'm sure it does happen. But for the most of us, for the majority, it's like we need something bad to happen, which sucks, but it's the way it goes. And when you said that, I'm like, yeah, that makes so much sense, because anytime I see someone or come across someone that's so passionate about spreading it to other people and not just, oh yeah, I eat clean, this is what I do. I notice when they want to spread it, it's because they want other people to be better. They want other people to be healthier. They want other people to not have to go through the same struggles that they went through.
Yeah. And then seeing it in my family too. And knowing that because I decided to make healthier choices, I see them slowly making healthier choices, but they still have some health issues, and it's got to be up to them. It's got to be up to them to really want to dive even deeper in order for those to go away.
For sure. I've even seen, similar to what you said, I've even seen people just picking up working out and it completely turn health conditions around. And even if they're still not eating the greatest, just adding in exercise or weightlifting or something like that, those two I can't prescribe to people enough. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you feel that same way, but it's like the people, especially someone that doesn't eat clean at all and doesn't exercise at all, it's like you have no idea on the amount of benefits you're missing out on. Like I didn't before I started working out, and I was just like, I was so amazed by it. And that's what really led me to eating slightly better in the beginning, was just going to go work out and feeling like trash. You know what I mean? I used to think, okay, I can go eat McDonald's or this or that and go work out in an hour, or sometimes even closer than that. You mean half an hour from that or something. But even if it was 2-3 hours later, a lot of times it was just like, it felt like I was working out with bricks on my ankles. And then a lot of times felt like I was gonna throw up. And I'm like, nah, I'm cool. I gotta do something about this. This doesn't make sense. And I started realizing as it was happening, on the days that it was like that, it was like, yeah, you just ate some greasy BS that day that is causing all this. You can probably avoid this.
Yeah, 100%. No, it amazes me even more that some people haven't consciously made the connection between what they're eating and how they're feeling, or that, oh, McDonald's is not that bad, I'm just getting this. It's like, anything there is terrible. Don't go in there.
Yeah.
I'm getting a salad, I'm getting a wrap. I'm like, don't go in there.
Yeah. You sound like me. I mean, it's the same stuff I say to people, and from time to time, like, especially it's weird having a kid, because I was like, before we had my daughter, I was like, yeah, she's never eating that stuff, and I'm gonna do my whatever I can to keep her out of there. And I still do for the most part. My wife is more lenient on her and likes to eat some of that stuff from time to time, so they get things. But I'm always like, I'm always, especially on the McDonald's, like, I'm like, please, just anything but McDonald's. Stay away from McDonald's for me, please. But it's hard. It definitely is hard when you have a little bit different viewpoints in the parenting on. She's not as hardcore on the clean eating as I am, and she doesn't take it as seriously because she hasn't had a major health issue because of the eating, really. Like, she had kidney stones, but I don't know if she directly related it to that. And we used to drink a lot of pop back then, so I think maybe she kind of relates it to that and thinks that since she kicked pop, maybe that's. But it for the most part, I try to eat as clean as possible, try to get them to eat as clean as possible, and it's such a game changer. Like you said, there are a lot of people that just don't see it, and then even when you tell them, they're like, I need to go to the doctor. No, I need to go to the doctor. There's something going on. It's like, yeah, there's definitely something going on. It's how you're eating. But we could keep rolling. So how long after getting into like cleaner eating did you start leaning towards vegan or even go for vegan? Are you still vegan now?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a journey. So I was competing in like fit and healthy and, all of that for like 2 to 3 years before I even started looking at veganism, or not just not eating meat for the sake of not eating meat, but really what that means on a world scale. So it was actually one of our clients at the time that he was vegan, and he introduced us to the documentaries. And that was what got me to see the bigger picture, what got me to see what's behind the curtain, if you want to put it that way. Because all of us know when you have a piece of meat or, whatever, we know what had to happen in order for that to be there. But most of us don't realize the entire process and everything that animal goes through for that to be there. And, that's one part. But then the other part is, how is this affecting the world? How is this affecting the planet? On a real level. We don't make that connection. We don't realize that. And I didn't, till like 2-3 years ago. But when I saw the documentaries, when I saw the facts, you can't unsee that. And for me, it's like, once I see something, that's it. It's like black and white. I'm very black or white when it comes to stuff like that. So I realized that for the world that I see when I close my eyes, it had to be on me. So since that point, I was just like, I'm done with it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I watched a decent amount of the documentaries me and my wife did together, and I had mixed feelings about them. Like, at first, I definitely felt the way you did, and I'm like, yeah, this is ridiculous, and I don't really want to be a part of this, and I don't particularly want to consume the type of meat and stuff that is your average everyday stuff. A lot of people don't know until they watch the documentaries that a lot of it is like they're cutting tumors off of it and stuff before they're packaging it for you and stuff like that.
That's a crazy one.
Yeah, because the animals are so unhealthy in the way that they're kept and the things that they're fed, like cows being constantly fed grain when they're only supposed to eat grass only. So there's a lot of things that make the animals really sick, and what you're eating and putting in your body is a sick animal, to where a lot of people say, hey, we wonder why we get sick, but we're constantly putting a sick animal into our body, sick food into our body. So I definitely struggled a little bit at first, and kind of started trying to do as much as I could of like the grass-fed stuff and things like that, because I really wasn't ready to make any kind of transition, but I tried to slow down a lot on the amounts of meat and stuff I was eating. But since then, it's just been a lot of different things of like hearing more and more information, and even hearing like your mass production of vegetables and stuff, and in a lot of cases is doing a lot of damage too, because the amount of pesticides and stuff they have to use. And of course, now with the boom of all the issues with the glyphosate that's in the Roundup that they're using on all the vegetables and stuff. They're paying out crazy lawsuits nonstop because so many people are getting cancer from it. And I don't know if you saw the one real crazy one was that it was like a veggie burger that a lot of people were eating that was, I guess, trying to compete with the Beyond Meat one. And I can't remember what the brand name was of this one, but I think it's where that big $2 billion lawsuit is coming from, is that burger had like 5 or 10 times the amount of this cancer causing chemical in it than almost any other type of food on the market from the pesticides and stuff that were in.
Are you gonna send me that info? No, I haven't.
Yeah.
I have to. The news. So.
Oh yeah, I don't either. I've got it randomly from other podcasts and things like that. But it was wild for me to hear that, because it's like that's I hate to hear stuff like that too, because a lot of people that are eating that are trying to eat that to be healthy, to avoid what we're talking about with like the factory farming and stuff like that, and for them to end up with cancer by trying to do better or eat better is terrible. But so it's kind of why I've bounced around, and now really where I'm at with it, especially after listening to a lot of Joe Rogan's podcasts, is like I'm really looking into, and I've talked to a few friends that have friends that hunt, and trying to get clean sourced meat from healthy animals and buy it like where you're buying like a whole cow or getting a lot of venison, deer meat and things like that, to where I think for me, I feel okay with getting it that way if I can get it that way. But right now, I'm definitely still eating the regular stuff you're getting out of the store. I try to get the grass fed and stuff as often as possible. But it is terrible to see. And the only thing I guess that really I always have questions about, and especially wanted to ask you since you were coming on, is like the fact that you have to supplement, or most people have to supplement, or however, I hate to say it because I haven't done it, so I don't want to just put that on people, but they recommend that you supplement if you're vegan or vegetarian with either B12, I think it's B12, iron, calcium, and zinc or something. But for sure, I guess like B12 is the big one, right?
Yeah, they really talk about B12. I mean, I didn't experience any energy loss really when I first changed, because I mean, now I've been doing it for so long. It's like my body's already used to not having animal protein or anything like that. But that is something that they talk about a lot, about B12. I also find that even for myself, when I made the transition, a lot of times we change without really knowing what to eat, or just eating grass, or whatever. It's like there's so many nuts, there's so many seeds, there's so many other things that beans, really all that will come in and fill in those gaps, whereas you might not need that B12. But of course, everybody's different. Right. So really it comes down to the individual, and getting more in tune with your body, and like really listening to your body. Like, what is my body telling me? Is this food making me bloated? Because I ate beans for so many years, and then recently they started making me really bloated. So I removed them, from my diet. So there's a lot of different things that, or even a vegetable, it could be making you bloated. So whether you eat meat or not, it's just really listening to your body and actually seeing how different foods, different water, like anything affects you.
I can't agree more. I think you hit it exactly, because that's kind of exactly what happened with me, and what I've seen with other people as well, is that everybody is very different. And that when I tried to really uptake the amount of veggies and stuff I was working into my diet, it was wrecking me. I couldn't handle that amount of fiber. And maybe I just needed more time with it. I don't know. Yeah. But I've kind of went back and forth. And when I can't do really, really high fiber diet, which eating a lot of veggies, you get a pretty good amount of fiber in. But even with the beans, a lot of people don't know with the beans. So a lot of your beans and things that are stored in mass quantities, they get like molds and things on them. Yeah. So like, even if you are perfectly fine with the beans, sometimes you may be getting them from a source that is a little bit dirty or a little bit whatever that can cause you problems as well. So it's really weird that everybody's different. All the different sources of food you get are a little bit different. So it's I think, like you said, is the key thing that helped me kind of recover my health and my digestion a lot, and that I see in a lot of other people, is that it's what works for you. You have to try to figure out what makes you feel good. And I heard somebody talking about that one time, and I thought it was really interesting. It was like, they were talking about how they were like, I don't even pay so much attention to lab work or things that doctors recommend, like you said, because they're like, this was a doctor saying this, and he was saying, because people come in and their blood work looks great and they feel terrible, and they say that they have all these things wrong, and all their stuff is all within range and all in the level of normal and adequate and this and that. But he was saying like a lot of things are optimal, in blood work, and they're not optimal levels, and that everyone is so different. You might be somebody that needs really high iron in your blood and stuff to operate well, where another person has next to none and they feel awesome.
Yeah.
So it's something that's definitely a touch and go, and like figure it out as you go with your foods. And I think if a lot of people would kind of play the game more of taking things out of their diet, adding things in, and seeing how they feel, I think a lot of people could get rid of a lot of issues of being tired, always being hungry, psoriasis and skin issues, of course, a lot of things like that. And I hope more people do with the health wave that's coming in the whole fitness kit.
I mean, health, fitness, whatever it is, at the end of the day, it comes down to being in tune with yourself. So it's beyond health and fitness, is really having that connection with oneself, which will allow you to then connect to everybody else. So if you don't even have that, you don't know how foods are going to make you feel. You can be following a diet and it could be terrible for you, but only you yourself know that. Nobody else does.
For sure. I have a question that just randomly popped in my head. I'm like, with people who are in fitness, I don't hesitate as much to ask, and I know I shouldn't, but also, how old are you?
28.
Okay, it's because you're wise beyond your years. You know what I mean? The way you talk and a lot of things that you're saying and being in tune with yourself and stuff, a lot of things are things that I don't hear or see, and I definitely didn't even start to learn or think about way farther until just recently in my 30s. And just to hear you talk and hear about how much you think about being in depth with yourself and trying to learn yourself and really be connected is something that I think a lot of people don't learn until later on. I didn't learn until way later on, and it's something that's so big. But to get back into things,
you look like a baby too, man. So
I appreciate it. I credit it all to working out for sure. I really do, because I was like, I feel like before I was starting to look pretty old for sure, and I guess in my eyes. But I tell people all the time, the craziest thing to me is that I tell people every day, I feel better than I ever have. I feel better than I ever have. So granted that I've been sick and I still have a little bit of issues now with like my digestion. There's a lot of things foods that irritate me pretty bad and things like that. But overall, I feel better now than I did as a teenager. And I think it's all off of what you said. I think it's changing my diet. You know what I mean? Trying to avoid how much junk food. I grew up eating whatever, you know what I mean? And eating the standard American diet, they call it the SAD diet.
SAD diet.
Yeah. And I mean, especially living on like pizza rolls and Hot Pockets and this and that.
Yeah.
And like, that was life to me. You know what I mean? That was literally almost every meal was fast food or microwave food. That's what it was. And I think for sure that's probably why I can easily say now, with eating better and working out, that I feel better than ever. And my goal now is like, I feel like I'm trying to fight age. You know what I mean? Like I'm in a battle with it. Like that's one of the big reasons why I work out. I'm like, man, I'm trying to fight it. I'm trying to fight it to the end. I'm trying to be in the battle, because I feel like so much of what we're seeing and what we're learning is like, it does kind of turn back the clock for you in a lot of ways.
100%. I mean, for me, it's like, I don't even see age in the sense of like, oh, you're 70, you're supposed to look like this. There's people 70 years old completely breaking the mold. They look better than 20-year-olds. So for me, my goal is like every year I want to be younger, like look younger, all of it, because why not? Like, why does it have to be that every year you're supposed to get worse? No, every single day we're getting better.
For sure. And especially since, like you said, everything that we're seeing in other people that it's capable, that you can do it. So I'm on the same bus with you. I'm on the same train.
Yeah.
Let's try to stay as healthy and as young as we can. Yeah, for as long as possible. Because I don't want to be battling something crazy. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know anything can come about too health wise, but I think this is our best option for sure. But so how long after you got into the fitness and eating right and all that, did the random modeling gigs, or just the idea of modeling, or how did that come about and your start into it?
Yeah, I feel like everything kind of came in as one. I always tried working out. I would start, stop. And then I made a friend. Actually, she came into my boutique at the time. We became friends. We started working out together. And it was like 2 weeks into it. And she's like, dang, like you get results really fast. You should think of competing. And literally, you know how like when somebody says something, your mind will go into like a vision of what your life can turn into if like you go down that path. So that's what happened. I was able to see how my life would kind of be different if I decided to follow that. And I mean, you know, our our marriage story. So we
we're gonna get into that too.
we just get it done. So I was just like, all right, it's done. I found a trainer. I picked a show and I just started working for that. So within that same time, I got another idea. I was like, you know what? I want to be a model. Like I always thought of what, I want a model. I want to get paid for somebody taking photos of me. I'm good looking. Like I started thinking all of this. I was like, why not? Why do I have to fit into the mold of I have to be 6 foot, for me to be considered a model? So literally that same week, I was like, you know what? I'm modeling. I'm doing commercials. I'm doing all this. And within that same week, I got somebody reached out to me. They're like, oh, you know how to do commercials in that, right? I'm like, yeah. And within that same week, I had my first paid gig. So
Gotcha.
From the beginning, I never did like, how it's so many models starting out, everything is free.
Mm-hmm.
From the beginning, I always got paid.
Oh yeah, dude.
I was like, no.
You're a boss for that one then, because it definitely is that way.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely is that way. Even the little bit that I did a good amount of free stuff early on for sure, and saw that's how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're a savage for that for sure.
Yeah, I was just like, I just set my rate and this is what it is.
Gotcha. Where did you even get the idea for how to set a rate, or like setting one that you thought would be? Did you look it up or did you ask
Google.
some friends?
You gotta ask Google.
Yeah,
so I was
there
like,
you go. I like that too.
How do you become a fitness model? And then so I just like read one post and I talked about competing. I was like, okay, great. I'm already, getting ready for that.
Gotcha.
And then I found a really great website. I don't know if you ever used it. It's called modelmayhem.com.
I did not, but I'm very, very, very aware of it. And a lot of people that I modeled with used it. I did it for such a short time that I didn't go into it like I should have.
Here in Columbus is a little bit, there's less connections being made on there.
Mm-hmm.
But I was in Miami, so it was a big market for that. So I had some photos that, my partner at the time had done for me. So I just posted on there, started looking through every day. I would go on, apply to casting calls, and then that's how I started building.
Gotcha. Yeah, mm-hmm. It's funny you even say that too, because I a lot of times with my research of guests too as well, like I'll randomly Google. So I Googled you as well, and the Model Mayhem page came up.
I was going to say some sexy photos came up.
But I was also just like, she's been doing this modeling thing for a while.
It's been a while.
And I think it showed that you had been on Model Mayhem for quite a while too. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, yeah, this is years in the game. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I think the way that you just explained, like just kind of envisioning it and just deciding that you were it,
that's
man, so powerful. And like I've been telling so many people, that's been my thing lately that I've been saying to people. And I think me and Marcus talked a little bit about it. And it's just like so many people don't know that, and I still have to talk myself into it at times too. It's just like there's so many things that I feel like it's just a decision. Like if you just decide, hey, I am this now, or I'm not this, or I'm going to do this now, I'm not going to do this anymore, whatever. Just decide. So many things are up to us.
Everything.
So many things.
Everything truly is. Even the smallest little detail comes from that decision. So just like you said, in that moment, I decided that this is what I was, from that moment forward. So when you decide, as corny as it sounds, the universe will literally conspire in your favor to make exactly what you decided that you are come together. So when I made that choice, when I made that decision, then everything just came because I was ready. So then everything around me was like, okay, she's ready. Let me give it to her.
Right. And I think even past being ready, just the thought that you believe that and you told yourself, hey, I'm ready. Yep, let's do it. Yep. They asked about the commercial. Yeah, I can do commercial. Yeah. It's like just having that mindset changed a lot of things for you, whatever. And honestly, that's been one of my favorite parts about meeting the people that I brought on and meeting people like you and Marcus, is just to see how powerful that is, and to see that when someone really just makes the decision to put that into their life of like, what I say or what I want to happen, it's gonna manifest. You know what I mean? I grew up as a person that whenever somebody would tell me like, oh, you can be anything when you want when you grow up, or you can do whatever, you can live wherever, you can do this and that, but especially you can be anything you want when you grow up. Like I always just took that as like a joke. Like I always just kind of looked at it like, maybe. I'm like, but a lot of times I'm like, I guess because I was heavy in sports and things like that, I used to be like, well, if you ain't 6 foot, 7 foot tall, you're not going to basketball and football. If you're not this, then you're not going this way. You know what I mean? If you're not slim, probably not going into modeling, this and that. Like a lot of different things where I would start knocking it down. But it's so crazy now that I've gotten older and met a lot of people like you guys that it's very clear to me now, like whatever you are willing to put the work into is what it really comes down to. So like I've even told my wife, that's what I want to preach to my daughter, is tell her and the new kid that's coming, but it's preach to them that you legitimately can, but that next part to it, if you put the work in. So I think that's maybe what a decent amount of people that I was hearing it from was leaving it out, or the part that maybe I even wasn't considering or tuning out. But it's like, even to hearing the people say how, like, if you put 10,000 hours into something, you can be a professional in it. It's like, it's crazy, but they've got statistics on it. Like the proof is there. Like you put in the work, you can be almost anything you want. And even for you to say, like, I really tripped a minute ago when you said like, oh yeah, I thought I don't have to be this tall. And it's now like, I never even processed that until you just said it. So like, for you to be a shorter person and do the modeling that you're doing, that right off the bat is one of the biggest things that proves it for sure, because it's like, that is so many people's thought process and so many people that maybe kind of shut themselves down to ever thinking they can get into it. Like, oh yeah, you got to be 6 foot as a guy and you got to be close to it if you're a girl, and it's not like, yep, like that's just something that's not going to be a possibility for me. And look at the amount of stuff that I'm just guessing from what I've seen, but it looks like you've done a ton. It looks like you've done a lot of modeling. So it's like, it's not even that you might be able to get something. It's like, no, you can do a lot. You could be really successful. You could really become a big time model at whatever size. You can do so many different things. I saw a post the other day. I know I'm rambling now too, but like, you know who Charlie Rocket is? You'll have to check him out. My guy Luis here got me hooked on him, but he's a guy that he was overweight like crazy, never any type of athletic, anything like that. And he just decided one day, he said, I'm going to start writing down these things and making them happen, basically. And he's like, and the crazy thing was, his biggest one was, I'm going to be a Nike athlete with a Nike commercial.
Wow.
And you're talking about a dude that was like, what, like maybe like 400 pounds, maybe a little under, a little over. And like I said, not athletic at all, didn't even work out, hadn't even started working out yet or nothing. And he's like, I'm going to be a Nike athlete, have a Nike commercial. And he's got videos and stuff. People have reposted everywhere about it now. I'm sure you'll check it out now. People, I hope a lot of people pull it up, but sure enough, he just got after it, made his own Nike commercial eventually.
Yeah.
Next thing he knows, Nike's calling him and saying, come out to headquarters and we want to turn our advertising in a totally different direction and get you involved in this and that. And sure enough, like, so if somebody like that, if somebody short can be a model, if somebody like him can be a Nike athlete, like, it's, the proof is there even more now for people with social media stuff, I think. And I think it's so awesome. And that's, like I said, been one of my favorite parts about this, is to get to meet people like you that are so inspiring in those ways.
Man, now with like the internet, social media, everything, there's no excuse. Like, anything you want is literally at your fingertips. So it just takes that decision. Yeah.
And when people, it's funny you say that too, when people say something to me, whenever I hear them saying like, oh man, I wish I knew, I'm like, no. Change what you're saying. Change what you're saying. Grab your phone or jump on the computer real quick. You don't need to wish you knew anything. Like, if you really want to know, just about everything's out there. That at least the amount of knowledge that actually is in books and that people have researched, you can find it. You can find it. It's out there.
That sentence literally would take me back to like 1930.
Yeah.
I wish I knew.
But you would be surprised how many people I'm around that say something like that. Especially like, I'll be at work and somebody will say something like that. And I'm like, what do you mean you wish you? No, go search it. And a lot of times they'll come up with excuses, and it's just that mindset. It's just that mindset. It's that mindset. They haven't made that decision yet. You know what I mean? But also, so talk to me about the transgression of getting into the modeling and how other doors open and how getting into doing other things, and how much of that, like, is that a big source, and has it been a big source of your income? And also, like, maybe some of the bigger things that has been some of your coolest experiences or favorite things to do because of the modeling.
Yeah, I mean, modeling definitely has opened a lot of doors. I gotta say, Marcus and I don't have agents per se. We have a couple of companies we're associated with, but most of everything has come from us, like, hustling, for lack of a better word, and just making connections, and just really being willing to meet people, network, do what it takes to be able to put yourself out there. Because in any type of business, but in something such as modeling, I find that a lot of times, somebody might have the talent, but they don't have the business know-how. So then they're either relying on somebody else to put them out there, or they just might not get paid what they're worth because they don't know how to set their prices. Whereas for us, like even when Marcus and I first got together, he had done like one photo shoot and he just got like some free clothes for it. And I was like, have you seen your look? Like, we're going to get you paid. Like, we're going to get you paid to be a model. Like, no. He didn't have a model mayhem. He didn't have portfolio, nothing. So I got him together. We put him out there. He started, it just so natural. It was crazy. Because obviously I'm not from Columbus. So when I came to, do you want to get into that yet?
We might as well.
Okay.
Let's get people, because I'm sure there are going to be people that listen to this that are just like people that follow you and people that just kind of have came across you guys on social media. So let's get into that real quick and explain it to people. It's something that we push like crazy, but for you guys to meet and kind of, it's also, I think, really good for you to give your side of it. He kind of was a little brief with it, but also maybe it's because everything was so brief. But
7 days. How much can you say?
I mean, you tell me what were your thoughts and how it went, and like, or why you felt so comfortable to go that route as well.
Yeah. So I came to Columbus simply to compete in the Arnold.
Okay.
My entire goal out of everything was come to the Arnold, get first place overall, win your pro card. That was the goal.
Okay.
Then I get here. I already knew Brandon. And then him and Marcus, they had the training business together, and he was his coach for the Arnold as he was competing too. So we met on like I want to say a Friday. No, we met on a Thursday. He had his show the next day. I had already competed and gone on to finals.
Just for people that don't know too, well, Brandon, you're talking about from Authentic Fitness.
Yeah, Brandon Oshoden, my brother.
Also, So how did you know? Was he in Miami at one point or something? Is that how you knew him?
So we met on Instagram.
Okay.
We met through my fashion page and like his training page. I don't even know how we connected, but we connected on books, spirituality. It was like the point where I was coming from. I always had questions of what else is out there.
Okay.
Because I never growing up Catholic, Spanish, most of Cuban Spanish are Catholic. So that was like my upbringing. My family wasn't like super religious, but we would go to church and like, things like that. But I never felt that connection, that one-on-one connection. Like I know for sure God is within me, or, however you want to say it. So in that searching of what, why am I here? What else is out there? I came across Brandon. So we connected over like the search of more of going into meditation and like actually meeting yourself for the first time, and like that new vision, that new world that comes about when you step out of that meditation. You're like, okay, this is completely different now. So that's how we connected. So the connection came quick because when you're connecting at a deep level, it doesn't take a long time to really become friends with somebody.
And sorry to derail it, but I just wanted to get the backstory on that a little bit too, because it just caught me like, okay, he's in Ohio, you're Miami, and the connection. But go ahead, on from there.
Yeah, so we had never met in person. We talked on the phone one time because I was talking to Brandon, and they happened to be in the car. And then at that point in my life, I used to go into meditations and literally poems would come out of me. So I would write them down and I would send them to Brandon because he was the only person that like we had that connection at that level. It was, how like when you become more spiritual or you even become healthier, a lot of your friends, they're not there anymore. So that's not what you talk to them about. So you talk to your friends who have the same interests as you about those things. So I would send him like the poems that are overwrite, and then he just had me say one to Marcus, and I guess that hit him right away. It hooked him, and then a couple months later, that's when we finally met in person. So we met. 7 days later, we got married. That's the whole story.
Yeah. I mean, to a degree, right?
What was the question? I don't even remember.
I mean, I guess I was just saying, like, because I think, especially from a female perspective, I think a lot of people would say, like, I know even guys nowadays are the ones to be known to be more hesitant to jump into something or whatever. But especially with the females, I think a lot of people look at it more like you guys are more emotionally invested in things, and from your side, I mean, like, it just how could you explain to someone that it felt so right that you could make that kind of that big of a decision in 7 days?
Okay. So I think a lot of it is the preparation before the meeting. Like, let's say LeBron going to a finals game. There's so much that went before that allow him to be able to win, the championship, or just to put it in that way. But when I met him, I was ready. It was what I desired. I had made the decision that my husband was out there looking for me.
Oh, okay.
So when we met, he wasn't in that space for himself, but I was. So when we met, it was like, it was just perfect timing. I knew that it was just what I wanted. I had written that, you talk about writing down your goals, writing down all these things. I had written down, what I wanted, out of my husband, out of what, that person that would be my partner forever. So those qualities that I wrote down, then, being able to see those in a person right in front of you, you're like, dang, I see you. Like, that's exactly what I wrote down. So it wasn't like, oh, I just met you and like I knew. It was like, obviously the physical attraction is there. I like who you are as a person. I like, what you speak. I like what's on your mind. I like that you're on your grind. I like that I see I see your vision. You're not, we both had the same vision for what we wanted from our lives. We didn't want to work for anybody. We wanted our own business. We wanted to be able to have life on our terms. He was already doing that, at the scale that he had it at. Of course, when we came together, everything was able to blow up even more. But, he was doing it. And I was on my path of doing it. But then I knew that there was more. So when we came together, it was like, meeting yourself, kind of. And that night when we like said, okay, we're married, it was like we were on the beach, and we just looked at each other, and it was crazy. I don't know if you remember that. And this is what I always think, or what I saw in that moment. In The Lion King, how Simba?
Yep.
Simba. He meets Nala again, like they reconnect after, and like they fall in love and they get together. That scene of him looking in the water, and then she comes, and it's like, it's one. That's what I saw, like that night when I saw him. It's like looking in the mirror and seeing that it's myself. So it was like, you're the one, you know? And I had never experienced that with anybody else. So sometimes you feel that for somebody, but they don't feel it back. So obviously there's no connection. But when you have that strong feeling, and then that other person has the same, then that's it.
Gotcha. That's, I mean, it's a crazy story to a lot of people, but I mean, it's awesome to hear it explained that well. And like to know that those type of connections really happen with people. And from me meeting him and you, and just the little bit that I know about him, it's like, I mean, he definitely seems like an awesome guy, and I think he made the right choice for sure. I'm gonna talk my guy up.
Thank you.
I'm gonna talk my guy up, but that's it's so crazy for a lot of people. Like us, I'll say it again, but it's, to me, in a lot of ways, that's inspiring too, because that's like showing a lot of people that you can step out of the norm and things don't have to be exactly perfect like this. And I mean, now you guys are what, 4 years in? And
4.5, going on 4.5.
And it seems like it's doing well. And 4 years is 4 years longer than a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that you guys have such similar mindsets, you know what I mean, and a lot of things in common help. Does the travel and make things a little bit hard, or does it make in some ways make it a little bit easier? Because sometimes maybe you going somewhere for a photo shoot, him going somewhere for something, or for baseball or this and that. Is like, do you feel like that makes it harder, or in a way kind of gives you guys the time to make it a little better?
So the first 2 years of our marriage, we were here in Ohio, and it was like we were glued to the hip. Okay. Because we were both training, like we were training literally from the morning till night. So even though we were glued to the hip, being in the same place, we were talking to other people because we were growing our business. So it's like we weren't, we were together, but a lot of times we weren't. Even though we were in the same place, you're building a business, you're training somebody, you're doing something. It's like it wasn't like deep. You
guys were busy enough.
That we were at the same place.
It wasn't like you're sitting on the couch together all the time.
No, just hanging out. Yeah. I mean, and it's not even like that now. I mean, most of the time we're moving and shaking, we're doing stuff. And now we have gotten better at being able to set time aside to just be us without, because I mean, when you're married for, however long, but then you're also business partners, not just in one business, but in all of your businesses and every single thing that you do, it can be very easy for all of your conversations to kind of turn into business.
Oh, okay.
Which most of the time we don't have a problem with it because we love what we're doing so much. But then you also have to have that unwind time where it's like, okay, enough of business, enough of anybody else. It's just you and I right now. So we have gotten better at being able to set that time of like, okay, it's just that time now. Let's not talk about anything else. But in those first 2 years, we weren't doing all the traveling. We weren't the couple that you see now. We were the couple in the basement, like grinding, just training back to back. And that was when my mindset expanded of having a business or, anything like that to there's got to be a better way to make money. There's got to be a better way to leverage my time. There's got to be a better way to create income or create resources. It doesn't always have to be me putting in that time in order to get a paycheck or order to get something, because the idea of being a trainer was great and we loved helping people in the transformations. But then when you're doing it back to back to back to back to back, then it's like a job.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you're trading your time for money.
Because you get such little time to yourself.
Yep, exactly.
Gotcha.
And being a newly married couple, we had never lived alone. Like we were both living with our parents. We didn't have all the expenses. All these things come together at the same time. And, we struggled. And I don't want to say we struggled because we did and didn't, because of course everything always works out. But having those kind of shaky times when you're like, okay, it's the 31st, rent is due tomorrow, and we don't have the full 1,000, for rent or whatever it was.
Right.
But always having that faith that it doesn't matter what it looks like on the surface right now. There's so many things working on the backside that we don't even know about. So being able to go at it from that angle, then every single time it always worked out. But it's so much better to not even have to be that close to that. So that was always our goal from the beginning, was like, we never want to be here again. Like we want to be able to have so much abundance that we're never close. Like everything is paid off. We never have to even think.
To stress about the money side.
Yeah, never even have to think about the money. Like let that money be on just autopilot, and then we can just create whatever we want. So that has really been the driving factor for everything we put our energy into. Is like, it's just building that solid foundation of your finances, not only for yourself, but of course for the legacy and for your family. Because we think about having kids in the future, and like one of the biggest things that led me into network marketing and like home-based business models and stuff like that was I never wanted to have to work for somebody else and then leave my kids at daycare. That was like before Marcus and I even got married. The reason why I said yes to certain things was based on that. Was based on the vision that I always wanted to be able to be there for my kids when I had kids. So then being able to have a husband that has that same mindset, it just fuels everything even more. Yeah.
No, it makes a ton of sense. That was my thoughts as well. I mean, I imagine in a lot of ways I would be struggling hard right now with the idea of me working if it wasn't for my wife being able to do that and being able to have her business, or I should say businesses. I always say business, but she definitely does multiple. But that she does, and her stopping having a regular job and taking care of our daughter, because that, like we've talked about with some other guests on the podcast, it's also, a lot of people don't realize a lot of times daycare is so expensive now too. It's like you break even.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You're going to work just to pay for the daycare. It's like, well, you could probably just stay home, raise your own kid, and not everybody can. So I hate to say it's so easy, but at the same time, it's definitely my thought process as well. And even something like this is me trying to get more towards that goal as well too, of being home as much as possible, or with my kids as much as possible, for sure. So
the fact that one of you, at the very least one of you,
right,
then the next goal is like, okay, how can both of us be able to do that? Because like for me, it was like, I don't care. I'll sell my bed. I'll sell whatever shoes. Like I'll sell whatever.
Now you really sound like my wife.
I don't care.
Now you really sound like my wife. That's how she is, especially lately. She's like, get rid of it all.
Yeah.
Everything's for sale. Everything has a price.
That's her quote. Everything is for sale.
Yeah,
like, you want the car? Well, what do you want?
Right. But so talk to me a little bit too, because we just kind of went through it. And the thing that really surprised me was when you said that you decided to get into fitness and eating better and stuff like that, is that you said, I knew right off the bat I was going to compete. And I'm like, did you mean just compete at being the best at fitness, or did you legit mean you had a pretty good idea that you wanted to compete in fitness competitions from the jump?
Fitness competition. So it was my friend that said you should compete.
Okay.
And then when she said that, I was able to envision where my life would go if I decided to step on a stage. Because I mean, not everybody is willing to do everything it takes to get their body to that level. Mm-hmm. And then also have the nerves to stand up there, do their routine, and let somebody else judge them. So I felt comfortable up there.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I imagine for the people that don't do well, I mean, it's got to be hard. I don't blame people at all for being a little bit gun shy with it, because, I mean, like you said, it's instead of just people judging you on, like we're talking about, hey, so-and-so's always judging people. It's like, no, legit judging me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm up there basically next to naked and trying to just put on a show, and they have to say they like my body, they like how I move, they like everything. So, but it's crazy that you say the competition was in thought from the beginning, which is pretty cool. But so then once you started actually doing it, like, where was your first competition and how did that go?
Miami, Florida. Well, actually Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
It was in 2014 October. So I literally got into all of it earlier in 2014, maybe in the summer. And then I was like, okay, this is the show that I'm doing. I strategically picked it because it was a national qualifier. So what that means is that you get in the top, I think it's either top 3 or top 5, then you can go to nationals, and then nationals you can get your pro card. So there's like a whole thing in competitions that you don't, at least for me, I never wanted to just do any show, like just to say I did a show. I wanted to do like one of the bigger ones, because then it's like, okay, you win there, like, you know, the competition there is really good. So that means that, at least for me, it was like, okay, so, I mean, doing a small show, nothing against it, but I feel like anybody then could win a small show.
Like, what is it telling you?
Yeah, what is it telling me? So I did that one. I got 2nd in novice, 3rd overall. And I was just like, okay, so, and actually I did that one without my coach that brought me to the Arnold. I did that one with just like a basketball coach that we were just doing cardio. And it was just one of my friends, and, you know, that was the first person that I talked to.
That's crazy.
I had no clue what I was doing, but I just got up there and I literally just had a great time. Like, I wasn't even thinking of like competition. I wasn't thinking of anything. I was just there, like, you know, I have never done this. Like, I worked my butt off to get here. I'm just here to just make friends and like have a great time. And I did. Like, it showed on stage. And I find that so many times, if you're like stressing, like getting to that point, it's going to show on stage. Like, you got to have fun. If you don't, then it's like the judges, they're going to be bored. Like, you're just up there doing nothing. So from there, I was like, okay, so I got like the coach that brought me to the Arnold, and it was just so crazy because I had known him the whole time that I had been here in the States. So he is the stepdad of my best friend from like 9th grade in high school.
Gotcha.
And he is an IFBB pro in classic physique. Shout out to Sam Yahia. He's amazing. His body is crazy. But he took me under his wing, and he was just like, you know what? I see, you know how some people can kind of have the frame for like certain like sports.
Yeah, for sure.
He could see that I had a frame that could work well in the sport of bodybuilding. So he's like, you know what? Like, who better than for me to be able to give this to you? Because, you know, his daughter, that wasn't her interest. So then to be able to have somebody else that's like, you know, you're the best friend of my daughter, like, what better than, you know, to help you get there. So he, from October to the Arnold is the first week of March. And really we really get serious with the nutrition maybe in like end of November. From there to like end of February, that was training 5 days a week with him, 5 days a week, eating everything. And the transformation that he made in my body was I mean, that we did together, because I was putting in the work. He was just, whipping.
Right.
The workouts were crazy. But just to see like where you can really take your body just when you're willing to follow that plan is amazing. So I had done that one in Miami, in Fort Lauderdale, and then the Arnold was my second one.
That's crazy. That's nuts. Then even with the training stuff too, just because this is another time where it's just like a personal question, but also that other people might want to hear. I'm interested. You feel like the consistency is what really was like one of your major factors in seeing that big change in your body that fast?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you can see a change in your body fast, even working out 3 times a week. So it's not only the consistency, it's the nutrition. Because I wasn't just eating whatever and then going to train. No, I was following a plan.
Gotcha. With a lot of people, that's what I think about, like the consistency of everyday, like you said, everyday food being this way. I've always told people that even like training for shows, the little bit of modeling that I did, and I knew like I had a photo shoot coming up or some kind of fashion event coming up. It's like, that's that extra motivation. That's that extra drive and push to be like, oh no, I'm not messing with that donut, or I'm not messing with it. You know what I mean? Or I'm sticking hardcore. Oh, I need to get my protein in today. I need like sticking to a lot of your key factors and being consistent with your food and your workouts if you give yourself little goals. So I think even a lot of people just like planning vacations kind of strategically could do that for them. If it's somebody that's interested in doing the modeling or doing competitions, it is something that really is good to keep you locked in and keep you 100%. Motivated.
It's like, I have vegan pizza today and yesterday. If I have a show coming up, I'm not going to be doing that. Or that's not, it's not, or I might do it once a week. That'd be my cheat meal, but not just whenever. So it's different.
Gotcha. I agree for sure. So then going forward and after you've competed, and it sounds like you competed more after that as well, right? Or were those weren't the only two? Or?
No. So I got 2015 when Marcus and I met. I competed here. I got top 5 in the Arnold for the first time.
Gotcha.
Then I stayed here in Ohio. I don't think I competed again for like another year and a half after. So I did a show in Cleveland. I got second on that one. And that one's got a crazy story behind it. So we were getting ready for the show. Literally like 2 weeks before that show, we were riding our bike as part of my cardio. And I just went ahead and crossed the street and a car like literally hit my bike. And I went into the car and broke my ribs.
What?
So I went on stage still with broken ribs. And still got second place.
Savage. Yep. And it's funny too. It's like stories like this are common in some of the people that I'm bringing on too now, where it's like, it's so crazy, but at times it's not surprising to me because I'm like, coming from you, I understand it. I understand it. It's like, I was even thinking when you were first talking about like getting into the competitions and you saying not wanting to do a small one and wanting to do something big from the jump. And it's like, that all brought me back to when we first started talking and you saying like, why not get A's? Why get B's when you can get A's? And it's like that mentality has carried on for sure throughout your life, like you said, and that's how you went into competition with that off the bat. Like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm trying to win. I'm trying to win, and I'm trying to go to the biggest competitions.
Yeah.
So
that's why I came to the Arnold.
Right.
The biggest one here.
Yeah. And then the broken rib thing was like, well, yeah, because you want to win. So you're trying to get that A by any means necessary.
And it's crazy because, I mean, I had never had broken bones and I had never been in the back of an ambulance. We didn't call it, the people around called, but they had me on this neck brace. And I don't know if you have ever had broken ribs, but when it happens, it's like breathing hurts.
So, I've heard that, but I have not.
Yeah. So I'm on the ground and I'm just like, And Marcus can tell the story. He says it's so much better because he was the one. He was watching it. Yeah, he was watching it. He was the one that like picked me up off the street and I'm like, He's like, what's going on? But
it hurts to breathe.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know what was
really
going on.
Right, of course.
I'm just here and then all of a sudden I'm on the ground. I didn't see it coming. It was just like, pow. And then that it was in the evening time. So then they took me to the hospital and that night, they took me and they did the scans and whatever. They're like, oh, you just have broken ribs. So you're going to be in pain, yada, yada. They wanted to keep me. I'm like, hell no, I'm going home. Like they wanted to give me a sandwich and like some junk, and I was like, no, thank you.
Not right now.
I'm gonna take my well, not ever. Like if I just had an injury,
Okay.
I don't want a sandwich.
Okay,
I don't want a bologna sandwich. Like,
well,
get
see,
out
and I
of
like
here.
what you're saying, because you're talking about because you want to recover, so you don't want anything that's slowing it down.
Exactly. And that was already the time where I had already watched the documentary. So how I made the change is I went from paleo, which is eating all kinds of animal protein, to pescatarian. So I was only having fish and eggs as like my sources of animal protein. So at that time I was already doing that. So my recovery was crazy fast. Like so crazy fast. Like literally that happened like 2 weeks out from the show, and the week of the show I was working out.
Mm-hmm.
So literally a week after having broken ribs, like we have videos of like Marcus putting me through a workout. And
that's unbelievable.
It wasn't like I wasn't able to do everything. He didn't have me do some crazy stuff, but I was like doing push-ups, holding planks, like just doing stuff to like really keep that engaged. And like the first few days, like he had to help me go to the bathroom. He had to wipe my butt. He had to do everything. Like sitting down, like it's crazy. Anything, like the amount of pain is insane. And I don't have
What do they
kids
do?
yet,
They give you anything that kind of wraps it or anything, or like brace?
Nothing. You just gotta just wait it out till your body heals it.
Tug it out.
So one of the things, one of my recovery products that I use at night, I could feel like, you know, when like the electricity, our entire bodies is electricity.
Yeah,
so like
so you feel static, you feel different things.
I could feel like the little electricity of it, like repairing.
Mm.
It was crazy. But my recovery was just insanely quick. And that night we were like, so are we still gonna compete? You know, because like the show is 2 weeks out, and you don't see that happening.
Right.
And Marcus is like, you're still doing the show. You're still doing the show. I'm like, okay, I'm doing the show. So we did it.
Gotcha. And probably just because he's seen you training and seen like the work you put in, he wanted that for you. I mean, that's awesome to hear too, because you can tell that he's really in your corner, you know what I mean, from something like that. And even though some people might say like, oh man, he should have taken it easy on us, and that's like, no. And not knowing you like he would know you, you know what I mean? And not knowing like what I know now from hearing you talk about just your mindsets. Like, yeah, he was on the right track of saying like, yeah we got to do this, and apparently it paid off too. Mm-hmm. But so once you did competitions and things like that, have you gotten into coaching for competitions at all since then? Like, do you coach girls that are doing competition? Okay.
Yeah. So when we were training out of here in Columbus, we put two actually of our ladies at the Arnold. So one of them, Marina, she's a freaking dentist at like 25. She's
just insane. Met her the other day.
Yes, you did. Yeah. So we met her through my father-in-law. And she literally started training with us. And like, I think within the first month of training with us, she's like, you know what? I want to do the Arnold with you. Mm. So we literally did the Arnold together.
That's crazy.
So her and then another one of our ladies, Victoria, she literally dropped 100 pounds. So she was like 250 pounds. Like she started dropping weight on her own. Then I think she was actually Marcus's like first client ever when he started training. So she dropped 100 pounds over the course of a year and then actually did the Arnold in figure. Mm. Like her transformation is insane. So we helped the two of them like get in the Arnold. I mean, they didn't place, but the Arnold is a hard show.
Yeah. You're talking about people that have, in some cases, been building for years to get to that point. Years. Uh-huh. Yeah.
And you're stacked up against, like, I feel like for me, I might have it a little bit easier just because my height class, there might be between 20 to 30 girls. Whereas if you're a taller girl, you might have like 50 people in your class. Oh, really?
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha, yeah. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that, but yeah, it makes more sense too. Yeah. Okay. Is it kind of the same way for guys or no?
I think it depends on the class that you're in. So like if you're like in bodybuilding, a lot of times the shorter guys are in bodybuilding, whereas in like
because they're wider and all that. Yeah.
Because you're short, so then obviously you're bigger.
Up. Yeah.
But in like physique, like the one that Marcus did, usually they're taller.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yeah, it just was something that's another thing that's like a question for me that I'm interested in, and also because I always think like I randomly think about getting into training and I always wonder like the progression and how some people have went about it. So I was just thinking like how soon after, or did you feel comfortable coaching people right away once you had done competition? Like, oh, I can teach this to somebody else, or did it kind of take a little time, or you just how did that go for you? Did you feel like you were ready?
I started coaching people, I want to say maybe a year into it. But I want to say at the same time, if I see something done, I can do it. So it's very easy for me to learn, what somebody else is teaching me, especially since I myself am going through it. Then I'm able to share that knowledge with somebody else. Because really, most of the time, that's what it is. You're sharing the knowledge of like all the different compilations of people that you've learned from, and then you're putting it together, for that next person, or really just sharing it for that next person. So I'm usually very comfortable with, like, if I decide to do something, I'm like, let's do it.
Gotcha. Is there more money in coaching people for competitions than coaching other people, or does it kind of depend on how you do it and different for every trainer?
It depends. The money might be more, but you're also putting so much more.
Because of the meal plan, the constant
meal plans got to change weekly sometimes. It depends on, how quickly that body changes for that person. Also, they're gonna be training more. So they're gonna be asking about suit. They're gonna be asking about hair. They're gonna be all these other things that a mom of 3 that just wants to lose 10 pounds or that just wants to be active, they're not worried about that.
Gotcha.
Their nutrition, they just want something simple. They just want to come in, get a quick workout, and that's that. Whereas with a competitor, there's emotions, there's all these other things that we think about because we have been competitors ourselves. So we know, having that experience of knowing it, of going through it yourself, all the different levels and like all the different things that especially as a new person, that what they're going to go through.
Gotcha. And so with that, is that kind of, I guess I'm also, it just is all more stuff that makes me more interested just to hear. But so a lot of your training or coaching, is it a good amount of it online now to where you're doing a lot of meal plans for people and things like that, whether it be like you said, an everyday person, it's not, or is it mostly a workout plan, or how much of you training people is online too?
Yeah, man, I love talking business. So
there we go. Perfect.
So that was kind of like where our business kind of flipped. Was we went from personal training to where my idea was like, we got to take this online. We got to change how we structure our business, because I don't want to be 50 still personal training.
Right. And because of that time aspect, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what, I mean, it was a slow transition. It took a while for Marcus to catch on to the vision, because training was his baby. That's what got him out of his parents' house. That's what, that was like that was his dream for so long. And, he still loves training, but now he doesn't have to rely on training income to fuel his lifestyle or to fuel our lifestyle. Whereas in the beginning, it was all training income that was allowing us to feed ourselves. So when you have any one thing that's like the only source of income that you have, I feel like it kind of puts a strain on what you're doing, just because it's this or nothing. But
and what if something happens?
Exactly. And I feel like sometimes maybe that's always in the back of your mind, like I got to get it, or something can happen, or whatever. But when that no longer is there, it's like you can have more freedom with it. You can choose who your clients are. You can choose so many things, because it's like, it's not about the money. I just enjoy it. Whereas it started out being something that we enjoyed to do, and we still enjoy training. We enjoyed like the group classes and stuff like that. But to be able to go back to what we had, where it was like group class training, no, that just isn't the life that is us anymore. So I pioneered having the focus more on online, or on coaching people on how to eat right. And it's not even necessarily like a crazy meal plan. It's like, let's go to basics. Like, I'm all about just, you got to master the basics before. It doesn't matter how many grams of protein. Don't look at your carbs. No, just cut out the junk. Focus on like the clean. Just focus on the clean, like, and like teaching them, okay, these are your carbs, fats, whatever. And cut out all the rest. Like, listen to your body. How does this food make you feel? If you have issues with digestion, then you better keep a food journal and like actually write it down. Nobody else can do it for you. Nobody else is in your body. You got to be able to write it for yourself and like know. So that's where we kind of went, and then just network marketing is amazing. Being able to not only sell products out of your home in the market, however you do it, but then also being able to build a team and being able to help people from their results actually start earning income. That's really where our fire got lit, was in building other leaders. We always kind of had that leadership trait within us, but we had never had like a full system to actually develop
to implement it. Okay.
To implement it, and then also to actually develop us as leaders, and not just be leaders, but actually be leaders of leaders that lead other leaders. So like when you look at it in that level, you're like, that's how you impact millions without you having to personally be the one knocking on every door.
Right. Yeah.
So
makes sense.
That's what network marketing did for me. It opened my mind from thinking. At first, I never even saw $100,000 a year, but then to open my mind to being okay with saying I am $100,000 a month earner, or $1 million a month, or whatever, like to be able to have that expansion and mindset to say, if that's what I want, I can have that. Like it's okay to desire that. That's what it did for me. Like nothing else had. My family didn't teach me that. We never even really talked about money, or we're taught about money, or like it was just, you go to school, you get a job,
getting by.
That's what it is. That's what it is. Yeah. So to be able to not only be around that environment, but to have friendships with people that have gone from where you were, normal, getting by, to having these, like, I mean, in network marketing, the paycheck is only a reflection of how many people you've helped. That's the only way that dollars are coming in. So to be able to have friendships with people who have built this huge businesses and like done all these things is like, okay, if it's possible for them, then it's 100% possible for me too.
Right. Gotcha. And did you guys have some people under you? So I assume you're talking a lot about getting involved as an advocate, right?
Yeah.
So did you have a lot of people come under you, or I shouldn't say a lot of people, but have people come under you that really just like blew up and surprised you? Like, oh man, these people are doing numbers underneath us.
Man.
That this is amazing to see.
It's crazy. Some of our actually most of like the circle and like the people that we surround ourselves with now, like, is all people that came from doing that venture, from doing that business. And it was just because we decided to be professionals at it. We decided to really master the craft, get better every day, like be willing to have that consistency, the consistency that we had in our workouts, to take it into that business, and allow it to be what took us from just being trainers to actually being able to live without living paycheck to paycheck, having that extra time freedom, because now you have your phone. Like you can do anything from your phone.
Right.
So to be able to have the phone be what earns us income, it changed everything. It allowed us to travel. It allowed us to start living the life that we have now. Because 2 years ago, if we weren't training, we weren't making money. So now it's like, it didn't matter where we were training or not, because we had our phone. Income. We had that passive income. We could make a phone call and help this person in California get started on a 24-day program and whatever. One of our best friends that came from it, Nathan and his wife, Gabrielle, they're out in New York. We didn't know them until he reached out to me on Facebook. This was like 2.5, 3 years ago. And now they're our biggest partners. And it all came from him just wanting to get in shape.
Oh,
and
okay.
If we were just personal training, that wouldn't have happened. Because how would I have trained him?
Right. Maybe wrote him a plan or something. Yeah. And that's as far as it would have went.
And that's it.
Right.
That's it.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's real cool. And the new wave, of course, is the ID, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I love the idea of that, because there's so much that I learned going through my like digestion struggle and things like that. Like, man, I would always think like, if I could get some blood work done, or get like even as to go as deep as the genetic testing stuff is really amazing. But to have something that is going to tell you to take out a lot of that guesswork, I was like, yeah. I can see why this can very much be the new wave.
Absolutely. Everything happens for a reason. We had a great time, in that baby that helped us get to where we're at now, to help me be on this podcast, because before I wouldn't have been able to speak like this.
Oh, okay.
Quite frankly.
Really? Why do you say that?
Because I I wasn't comfortable. I wasn't comfortable. First of all, I wasn't comfortable just talking to people. Like, I went to college and I wouldn't talk to people unless they talked to me first. So like Marcus made a ton of friends and he has this huge network from college. I can count how many people I really connected with in college because that's just how I was. I was very to myself. Like, I'm just here to get my degree and be out. And like Marcus really helped me and really taught me, like, if you go to the grocery store, like, make friends, like wherever you're at, like talk to people, make friends. And he helped me with that. But at the time, we needed new connections in order for our business to grow. Like, after you've talked to everybody you know about your business and about, how you can help them, some of them get started, some don't. You need a new market, you need new people. So it network marketing literally forces you to grow in that area, because if not, you're just not going to be successful.
Gotcha,
exactly.
Gotcha.
If you're not talking to new people, your business is dead. So that helped me get out of that comfort zone. And now I make it the point. Like, I used to make it the point, like when we were crazy building, it was like, if I went to the grocery store, I wouldn't let myself leave there unless I talked to one person. And it's not like, here, do you want to buy this? Here, do you want? No, it's just make a new connection. Like, wherever that's going to lead, that's where it's going to lead. But at least talk to one new person.
Right. And I like, it's great that you say this, because I've seen this happen as well too. And I've even tried to talk my wife into a little bit more. I've been more about talking to people and trying to even just crack a joke to somebody and get them to smile or something. Because it's weird. My dad was always like that he would talk to anybody, still does to this day, at least for sure, crack a joke to somebody or something. And he just did it off wanting to shoot the shit with somebody, what I mean? Wanting to just have a conversation or maybe get a laugh back or whatever the case is. But now I see that not just like you're doing it just for the benefit, but it's also that, like you said, sometimes maybe somebody doesn't buy anything from you or has nothing to do with your business, but maybe they become a great friend. Maybe they become a person that connects you to someone else that becomes a great friend or a person in business. And it's really limiting when you don't, you know what I mean? When you hold yourself back, because that's how I was early on as well. As I was always a person, like, I didn't trust people, and I just felt like I'm gonna do my thing. I'm sitting back and watch and be on alert, you know what I mean? And also like just protect myself, you know what I mean? And not really get into it with people who I don't know and put myself out there like that. But the older I've gotten, I've seen like there's just so many different positive benefits in a million different ways. And of course, I'm sure people will say, nah, sometimes it's this. There's your exceptions for sure. You can talk to somebody who's an idiot, but why not put out more good in the world? Why not, like you said, spread that love and even if, like I said, maybe give somebody a smile or make a connection. If it goes down, even if that's your worst that you get, is you get somebody a smile or you meet a new person that day, but your best is maybe it turns into an awesome business situation for you or a best friend. I mean, it's winning in a lot of different ways. It's
winning in every way. And really, wherever I go, I literally try to compliment, like genuinely compliment people, whether it's business or not. Like, it's just about making that, like,
making them smile. Yeah. It's kind of like the joke thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because
the compliment's even better.
That person is you. Like,
right.
That person, we all are the same person.
And who does not like a compliment?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I've heard people sometimes say like, oh no, they don't. Man, everybody likes a compliment. Especially if I think about how often can somebody probably be having a down day, man, or a bad moment. And somebody says to them, oh, something good looking or this and that, or oh, looking fit or looking this or looking whatever. It's like, you might have just turned that person's whole week around. Forget that minute, that hour, that day. You might have turned their whole week around because now they're like, oh, okay, maybe I am like, you know what I mean? And that's that momentum, the momentum that comes along with it. So yeah.
We used to go to Lifetime when we were training for the 2017 Arnold, and the guy at the door, he never would smile. And then like one moment I caught him smiling and I was like, man, what a nice smile. And like just something like that. And then we would all go, and then my Brandon was like, man, I tell you, that dude's been smiling the whole
Hasn't stopped since now.
Just because of that.
Right. That's how it happens too. Okay, so then also with your social media and everything, I kind of asked Marcus as well, but like, is that something that you also just winged as this went along? Have you picked up from certain things from certain people, or like where have you kind of got your knowledge or any kind of mentorship, if any, of like saying, okay, this is how I need to be posting or how frequent or the type of things I need to post or everything to bring yourself more business or more attention to your brand?
I honestly, when it's so crazy. Years ago when I had my clothing business, that's when I first ever opened an Instagram, and I fought it for so long. Like I was like, no, I don't want that. I don't want an Instagram. And then I finally started it just for my business. Like that was like, and then that's how I met Brandon, because I was posting on my page just trying to get business for my clothing. And then that led me into just then using it as like myself. And I wasn't building it as like, oh, this is my brand, all of this. It was just, I was just going through my awakening, if you want to put it that way. And I just wanted to share all the insights that I was getting with whoever, came across it. So that's really at first, when you're going back, that's what you see is just me sharing just the beauty and the love and everything that's all around, and just reminding people that it's here, and to be present with it, and to know that everything is always working in our favor. So that was like my initial thing when I started my page. And then now when I went into business and into training and all of that, then yes, the post became more about obviously my lifestyle as it changes, and about definitely getting business, because we never did Facebook ads. We didn't do any types of ads for like our training business or anything like that. Most of it was just coming through social media. Through social media, Brandon and Olivia, they had authentic fitness, or they have authentic fitness. So a lot of it came from them. They are very established here too. So being able to have those connections, people see you, they're like, okay, you're an extension of this. And everybody has different personalities. So somebody's going to gravitate towards you maybe more than somebody else, but they're all searching for the same thing, because they know that, you guys are all connected. So they can just get that same thing from you, just because your personality is different. So that was a big thing, being able to be connected with people that were already connected, and then being able to plug in and learn from them. So they definitely taught me a lot about social media, and not just social media, but being able to market your business, or when it comes to training, being able to market your training business through social media in order to bring in clients. That's where I kind of started to get it from them, and like, seeing Marcus do it. Marcus is awesome at it. Now I can say that right now he has definitely been a lot more consistent with posting than myself. I find that I go through like, ebbs and flows of, I'll be very consistent with posting, and then I'll get busy, or I don't want to say busy, I'll get focused on doing things like this, or like doing things in person, whereas I won't be posting as much. So it's
understandable with
yeah.
as busy as you have to be. I mean, it really is. I hate to try to give you a leeway where maybe you don't want it or something, but because I know how your grind is, but it's understandable for sure. I see the little bit of it, like with me trying to get more into it and stuff, that it's like in just a not so busy life, you just get caught up in life. And I'm someone who is very like in the moment, you know what I mean? And I enjoy my time with someone in front of me. I really enjoy my time with my daughter and my wife. And even something like this, or talking to my guy Luis here, or talking to almost anyone, but especially the people close to me, I'm really like, the phone is like my last concern. I really enjoy this conversation and being involved in it, and being actually present in the moment. So a lot of times for that reason, I'm like, I get talking or doing things, whatever, and I'm like, man, I haven't even looked at that phone in forever, maybe the whole day today, this and that. And I'm like,
okay.
in a lot of ways it's good, you know what I mean? Because it's not like some bad addiction or something like that. But at other times I know too, like, I need to be doing more. I could be doing more. So it gives you that little bit of weird anxiety too. Like, man, it's in the back of your mind. I need to be doing more. I could be doing more. But I love hearing the stuff about how you went about it and how you learned and things like that, just for the information for me. It's like a common theme I bring it up here. I say, like, the podcast is called Aaron Wants to Know, because Aaron wants to know some of this stuff too about the businesses, and so I can apply it, but as well the people that can listen.
Man, but when your business is fueled through your phone, especially in the beginning, you gotta be on it.
Yeah, it has to be attached to you.
I mean, you have your family time, set it aside. But other than that, like, it's gotta be like that.
Right. Bring this up a little bit, because I think it's sinking on you, because that's what I just had to do too. Yeah. Just getting a little bit of echo and stuff. But so we'll keep on rolling as well too. So some of the things I think a lot of people that maybe listen to you, or that even are going to see you on here for the first time, would be interested in as well too, is like, so I always at times think about this stuff too, just because I'm like, if I ever train or I have people that hit me up randomly asking me about a workout plan, a meal plan. I had somebody hit me up about a meal plan today, and I'm like, I'm no trainer or nothing like that, but at the same time, I think they just see my lifestyle and physique and things and want to get some tips. And it's funny because I told them exactly basically what you said is like, believe it or not, it's very simple, especially starting out. It's like cut the crap out. You know what I mean? I think one of the big game changers is people going to trying to drink almost nothing but water. Like so many people I think are getting held back by juices and sugary drinks because they don't know how bad they could be for them. But so I wanted to hear from you on your side of things. I even get interested in female, like the difference with women and girls on like, what do you think are some of the key tips for you guys that may be slightly different? And I know everyone is different, so it kind of, some of the things are common in both sides, but for women that can help really either kickstart them or keep them in shape, or even some of your like go-to things for legs or booty, because that's of course the main big woman focus in fitness.
Yeah, man, you asked a lot of questions in one.
I did, and I apologize for that, but I feel like
you're totally fine. So first, I actually want to go into what you said about somebody reaching out to you, because before I got into this as a business, I will have people reach out to me as well.
Okay.
And a lot of times we think, or we are, helping them from our end, but a lot of times it's like, why do you really want to know? I always like to go back to people and ask them, what exactly is your goal? Why is it that you want a meal plan? Because sometimes you give something to somebody and they might not even follow it. So I'm like, you're not about to waste my time. Like I've already, been through this so many times. It's like, why is it that you really want this? Getting down to their specific goal. And sometimes helping them even develop a goal. Because sometimes, I think I want to lose 10 pounds, or I think I should. It's like, well, do you even know what losing 10 pounds would look like? Do you know the difference between losing 10 pounds of muscle versus losing 10 pounds of fat? Do you know the difference of like how your body is going to shape? Like most people have no idea. They just hear all these things, so they think that that's what they want. But really, most of us want to build really for the image that we have in our heads. Is like, what we want is to shed the body fat and build muscle. That might not translate the same into what the scale is going to say. But so that's why it's like, we got to get clear on what it is why are we doing anything?
So you're getting into the good stuff here. I like this. Keep rolling.
Yeah.
Keep rolling.
So when people ask you for a meal plan or a workout plan, don't just give them what you do, because that's what's working for you, but you don't know what they want.
Gotcha.
So that's what helped me. And that's what helped me go from like, I guess for me, it's like going from like an amateur that just gives stuff away to like a professional that actually knows, like that can actually serve somebody and give them what it is that they want. So being able to ask that person and then most of the time in the beginning, you might not have the tools to help them, but you more than likely have the resources to be able to connect them to a person that can help them. So that's what I would do. I would just connect them with, listen, I understand what you're asking. I don't know how to help you. This is not
my lane.
Right.
Okay.
Let me connect you with the person that is helping me, and they're going to be able to help you. So that way you're putting them in front of the person that actually has the answers to what they want. Because if not, it's just like, oh, here, just read this textbook. It's like, but what is it that you really want out of it? So that was like the first thing. And then to get into like 100% water, and that's for everybody. And last night we just had a webinar with one of our good friends from Australia, and he was teaching us about water. And it's crazy. One of the things that he said on it is like, in the fitness industry, in the health industry, we talk about eating healthy. We talk about taking supplements. We talk about working out, sleeping, all these things. We talk about drinking water, but we don't realize the quality and the type of water that we drink, the impact that it has on us. We haven't fully grasped and made the connection that our bodies are over 70% water. So why are we putting all this emphasis on everything else and just drinking tap water, just drinking bottled water, just drinking any kind of water, not realizing like
it's a major key.
Poor quality. Okay. It's poor quality. Okay. So that's why we, it's something that I have been wanting for like a year. We finally stepped our game up and we got the water machine. So we're just waiting for it to come in the mail.
Okay.
So that's like the next.
What kind is it? Like one of the hydrogen ones, or what is it?
It's called Kangen water.
Okay.
It's this company that's been around for like 45 years, and that's all they make is like water machines. So he was
How do you say it again?
Kangen.
Okay.
He was educating us on it. So pretty much, man, you just got to watch it.
I will. No, for sure. You can send me a link. He recorded
it, so I'll send it to you. It's crazy.
Crazy. Believe it or not, it makes a lot of sense to me, because the weird thing is too, like at the same time I started having health struggles, and then also ever since I've switched, don't get me wrong, I got a ton of benefits that came along with getting rid of the pop and the juices and stuff like that, and switching to water. But at the same time, for the most part, water just goes right through me. Like I don't really absorb it that well at all. Yeah. And that's why I've always been big on taking creatine. And I even have played around with foods that help me kind of hold a little bit of water, because I notice how much I don't absorb the water. Like it's to the point, seriously, like I'm the type of person that if, say I'm just eating whatever and I go drink a bottle of water, it literally will go through me within a half an hour, 45 minutes. And I'm talking about like straight up the amount that I just drank. Right through. So it's something that makes a ton of sense to me that you say that, and that I've seen some of the other people talk about. And recently I've gotten into more on drinking the water that has a little bit of electrolytes and things added to it, which has definitely helped a lot. And I'm always interested to learn more and more about it. Yeah,
it's going to blow your mind. And it's exactly what he said. So that our friend Martin, same thing. He used to drink the water and then right away it would leave. He had a ton of inflammation, like a ton of things. And then when he switched his water, all of it is gone. So not to make health claims, not to make anything like that. Of course, your body, decides, or you and your mind decide to heal yourself. But it has a lot to do with it too. So not only the fact that you're passing it, but then if you're passing it that quick, it means that you're essentially dehydrated. So just maybe a lot of your digestion issues is because of that. So what happens in our intestines is it'll be shriveled up like a little raisin. So how can things actually like pass through, get absorbed, like do everything that it needs to, if that isn't even looking how he actually even showed a picture of a colon of like somebody, that.
And your whole colon is all muscles. So, I mean, you need that hydration for sure. And that's how things move, is through the muscle movement.
So it's going to blow your mind.
That makes a ton of sense. Yeah, I'm definitely going to check that out for sure. That's good stuff for sure. That's something I'm real interested in.
If somebody doesn't have the water machine, just making, the very first thing is just cutting out all the pop, all the junk, like just get rid of it. Even if it's a juice that you think, oh, it's just all orange juice. Don't be stupid. Flip it over and read the label.
Grams of sugar.
Just read the label.
I keep BSing on making a post about that, but the grams of sugar that are in even a tiny, tiny orange juice. I remember we were in a hotel just recently, and there was the babiest little orange juice, and I'm like,
it was like 20 grams, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm like, I gotta flip it over and look, and I'm like, it was like 20 grams a serving, and there were supposedly 2 servings in this little bottle. You know what I mean? That's how it always is. It's like, that's another thing. A lot of people are like, oh, they'll look at, oh, this isn't too bad. It says 15 grams of sugar, and you don't see that giant can or bottle says there's 4 servings in it, so there's 60 grams of sugar in it.
And then what I find too is that people don't think that 15 grams of sugar is a lot in a drink, and I'm like, how is that? That's a lot for a drink.
A lot of people don't know that your daily intake is like only what, like I think it's high 20s or low.
I don't know the exact number.
I want to say supposedly it's right around for women, like higher 20s to low 30s, and then guys, I want to say it's like higher 30s of grams of sugar you're supposed to get in per day.
Right.
And people are getting them in like half a bottle of what they're drinking and have no idea. So yeah.
They're choosing to have no idea.
Yeah, that's true too. Especially nowadays, like you said, with Google and all that.
You can just flip it over, and it's like, okay, if you're seeing all this and you don't know what it means, like educate yourself, or like get connected with somebody that has a little bit more information on it, and then pick their mind.
Right. It's always a good idea, I think, for anyone to be more aware of what you're putting in your body, for sure. Pay attention to what it says on these labels and things, and things that you're putting inside your body. Because like you said, it's so much of a part of how you feel and your health is what you're putting in to fuel the machine. What are you fueling the machine with?
Yep, exactly. And I'll just keep it simple. Cut out the breads, cut out the pastas, cut out the rice. Get off the cardio machine, lift some weights.
See, I like rice, and I recommend rice to a lot of people because I feel like it's a cleaner carb. Because I feel like a lot of people, you're not really going to get them to completely get away from carbs.
Do you feel like the people that you're talking to is more people that want to build rather than people that want to cut?
It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
But I like I said, I think the reason I kind of recommend it to people, I do recommend it to people, and I eat a decent amount of rice, is because if you're going to take in carbs, it's a way cleaner option than pasta, bread, a number of different sources that someone takes in a standard diet. So I feel like it's a good replacement to pasta, to bread, to some kind of junky processed carb. At least it's not processed. Is kind of my thought process on it. If someone's trying to get really specific and get really lean, yeah, you might want to cut out the rice or just do brown rice or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just give them that option. Like do the cauliflower rice. Black or white for me. You're that middleman. I'm like, all right, this is what you want. This is what you got to do. Don't play with me.
Gotcha. Okay, so some of the last couple of things, the flex and chill spot, I think it's amazing. How much of the thought process of it was were you involved in? And was it just Marcus's idea? He told me he kind of envisioned it a long time ago, but with how connected you guys are, it doesn't surprise me that a number of different things that you guys are involved in are a team effort. And, and it's a collab for sure.
Man, it's been years in the making. That's why I had to wear the shirt.
The sweatshirt. Yeah.
So this is how it started. It always, of course, starts in the mind. But the first kind of real foundation of it started with the Flex and Chill line. So at first it was just like the clothing, but it was all relationships. So that relationship of us with Brandon from Lamp Apparel, so Brandon Foos, he already had that. So him being able to just be willing to connect with us, because we didn't know him. We didn't have any people in that connected us. We pretty much connected ourselves. Oh, really? We just randomly met him outside his shop one day. And then it wasn't until like a whole year later that we reconnected. And everything just kind of went through there, just through good vibes. Just like we connected with you. It's like, now you're fam.
You guys are magnets. You guys are magnets. Magnets for the good vibes.
Good vibes always. So just having that idea of, and a lot of it was more them than me. In the beginning, absolutely. But then me catching on to the vision of what it can be. And then now being in the spot, and then just putting the sweat, like putting whatever it takes to make it come alive. So after the clothing, then we went into Flex and Chill and just doing events. So we did a ton in Miami. We've done some here. And then being blessed with having that space. And it's like, of course we want to be in there.
Amazing space. And for it to be so close to the airport, like when I first found that out, I'm like, man, that's so smart. It's so clutch. It's like, because then people coming in for competitions or
it's like
anything.
5 minutes.
Oh,
literally, you get off the airport and you're
right there. It's right there. So yeah, I'm loving seeing the growth in it already. Like we talked a little bit about for the podcast, all the new equipment that just came in has me even more excited for you guys and to make another appearance up there for sure and come through.
Absolutely.
And
we're gonna grow them legs.
Yeah. They need it. Like I said, they're Tims, but I keep them clean. But no, we got to get in there for sure again, and we'll get Luis in there. And I was super pumped to get my wife in there this weekend too.
She's awesome.
She is, man. She is. I love seeing her get after it and her to show people that's possible.
Yep.
So like this podcast, a lot of things that I say, a lot of things that I try to put out there, and then I try to get her to do as well, is like show people what is possible. That like so many people think, oh, when you're pregnant, you can't do this and you can't do that, and that you're gonna get all this swelling and you need to be sitting down and doing this and elevating your legs. And it's like, maybe if you just stayed active and we're doing the right things that were healthy for your body, it might be a totally different story. Everybody's different. Once again, I'll always throw that in there. But it's like there's a different way. And in a lot of ways, I know at times there's probably a little bit of risk, you know what I mean, with her working out or doing things. But she tries to be smart about it. I try to make sure she's smart about it. But seeing it is awesome. And it was really cool to get her up there and do the class. And she loves the class atmosphere. That's her thing. That's what she does. It's funny how I always tell people, like with women, I feel like it's weird how a lot of the women, their idea of what they like in a workout is like getting their ass kicked. And I'm like, man, that's so crazy. Like I've always been a dude where I'm like, I want to get in there and get like a good pump and feel good. And like, I want to work and I want to be sore and stuff. but I also don't want to be in there feeling like I'm about to pass out. I can't breathe, this and that. But at the same time, the more I've dabbled in it, it's like you got to do those type of things too. You got to, because every new experience shows you something a little bit different and teaches you something different about yourself, for sure.
It shows you that you can get through anything.
Yeah, yeah.
Even on that last rep where you feel like it's hard to get it up, it's like when you see that you get it up regardless, even though you like, after you're like, oh my God, I almost died, but you still got it up.
Right.
That, man.
I even get pumped for other people doing that. The other day I commented on Ben Kershaw. So you guys did the plank session with Justin. His brother Ben, I've talked to a decent amount since we did the episode with him and his brother, and worked out with him. And then he posted something not too long ago, and he was benching real heavy. And on the last rep, he's just like struggling, and he gets it. He just keeps fighting, and he gets it. I'm like, man, seeing that got me pumped for you, because I'm just like, I love seeing that fight in somebody, and then even the accomplishment too of just like you didn't give up, and anybody watching it would have felt like he's done, because he's struggling at the bottom of the rep. You know what I mean? And he pushed it all the way out, and I'm like, it's inspiring. It's awesome for me to see. I like seeing stuff like that, and it's probably nerding out to a lot of people that aren't into fitness. Yeah. But I think it's great.
It's amazing. Yeah. Have we gone through the push-up ladder together?
We just did the thing, I think similar kind of what we did this time around too, where like we held push-ups and did the push-ups while you guys did squats.
Did the squats, that's right. Okay.
So yeah, and I was in bad shape the first time, and I told Marcus like I didn't want to say anything about it or whatever, because I didn't want to be like I was complaining or giving excuses or whatever. But like the first time when I came there with you guys and we did it, the shoes I had on had zero grip. So I'm like trying to hold myself.
It's the shoes.
Yeah. And I felt like, that's such an excuse and stuff. Like, and how much of a chump are you? You blame something with push-ups on your shoes. But what it was doing was, as I'm trying to hold, my feet are sliding out from under me. Yeah. So I'm like trying to basically do the craziest plank of like holding my feet in position with no grip and doing a push-up thing. So a lot of times, like I started letting go and like taking a break, and I felt like such a chump, but I'm like, I had to, because my core was dead from trying to hold my feet in place without letting them slide at the same time. So when we were in there this time and we were kind of doing it again, I had shoes on that had some grip. I'm like, yeah. I feel like the man now. Like I feel good. But yeah, and I've done a decent amount of those workouts. Those are awesome too. A lot of guys that I got started when I very first got into fitness, they would always do 10 down, 15 down, where you work all your way down, come all the way back up. And those are crazy. The burn and the yeah.
Yeah, I love a workout because you can really see where somebody's at mentally. If they automatically think that they're not able to do something, it's like, why are you limiting yourself without even trying? So it's like the direct correlation of what's going on in life. You can see it right there.
Right. It was another reason why I felt so bad about dropping and stuff, is because I'm like, oh man, Marcus is definitely right beside me right now, looking at me like, oh, this dude ain't got it. Like he don't got that killer instinct. Like he why does he keep dropping? I'm just thinking like, oh man, I want to tell him, but I'm not gonna excuse nothing. I'm gonna just keep trying.
So, just hold it.
Yeah, I was just trying. But either way, man, it was awesome. But last couple things we'll get into as we wrap up here. So what is the goal going forward? Like the new goal or the new like main focus for you? Because I don't know if it's still like completely as a team with you and Marcus, or there's some new things that you're into or whatever. But what seems to be the newest thing that's like, this is what's next for Jess?
I mean, a lot of things is team. I mean, individually we have our own things that we kind of gravitate more towards. Definitely just the flex and chill spot, like that's right now kind of like number one on the dock. It's just making that the most poppin' place for the entire community, not only for them to feel good, because like we know the vibes that we give off, so we want to be able to have a space, or we have a space where everybody that comes in there just feels amazing, feels loved, feels like they can take that energy and then continue through their day, through their week, and be able to get value, be able to get better, be able to get whatever questions they have answered. Like, even if not there, then be able to connect them with somebody else that can, whether it's about fitness, health, nutrition, water education, financial education, like all of that. That's a place where we're able to provide that. So that's like a big passion that we're able to bring. Now that we have like a space of our own, we're able to bring in all of our separate passions and put them into one. So health and fitness was what brought us together. That'll always be number one. But then entrepreneurship is something that has flourished our life. So that's something that we're very passionate about. So we're able to really bring that into that space and help other people who might not know what to do to become an entrepreneur themselves. We're able to, and it's not just, teach from a book. It's like, no, the way you really learn, because I went to business school, and everything that I do now is like, I didn't need to go to business school for.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I graduated with a bachelor's in marketing and international business.
But so much is self-taught?
All of it. Like everything that I do now is literally like from going through it. Like it wasn't like everything that I learned in school was just like, oh, you make this chart and yada yada. It's like, I don't even do that now. I mean, yeah, it taught you how to create an LLC, but Google would just lead you to the thing and you just fill in your information.
Right.
It's like so many things. It
just
wasn't just do it. Exactly. So being able to immerse people in the experience of what it means to be an entrepreneur, what it means to own your own business, to like really work for yourself. And that, I mean, I feel like for us, there are no days off, but at the same time, it's not like I'm working a job where I would want a day off. So just allowing people to have that understanding of, if this is really what you want, this is the life that will be, now on, if you want to be successful at it, because so many people want to be entrepreneur, wants to have their own business, but they want it on their terms. And yes, it'll be on your terms, but know that you have to be willing to push through everything to be able to have that success. That, I mean, if it's successful to you just to get by, great. But if you're really looking to build something that's great, not just good, then it's going to require getting uncomfortable.
Right, like you don't get to, basically what I take from it is you're saying you don't get to decide the amount of work that's put in. You might be on your time, but it sounds like you're saying you don't get to decide the amount of work that you're going to put in. It's like, if you really want to be successful, it's going to take a good amount of work. You know what I mean? It's going to take. It's going
to take it. Marcus and I were just talking about this because there's a networking event with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Columbus. So I was like, that's an event that I want to go to because I want to be able to get connected with the Hispanic population here. So his learning of Spanish, he hasn't had the desire for it. So of course he's not going to learn until he truly desires that's something that he wants. So I was like, that's like you saying, oh, I want to be fit or I want to have a 6-pack, but I don't want to work out. Gotcha. It doesn't work out. If this is something that you actually truly want, this is what
you got to put the reps in.
This is what it's going to take. Okay, if you want a 6-pack, you got to work out. You got to eat right. Like that's just the recipe for it. So it's like the same thing in business. If this is truly what you desire, this is the level, find the person that has that, see everything that they had to do, and know that that's what you're going to have to put in too.
Gotcha. It's what a lot of what we've heard on here and what makes a lot of sense too. And it's almost like you kind of answered my next question too, which I'll still give to you. But it's like that part of you saying find somebody that is where you want to be and really like attach yourself to them or try to figure out what it took for them to get where they're at and really start doing those things as soon as possible.
Now.
Yeah.
Now. It's got to be now.
Yeah. Everybody that we talk to is like, just go, just do it. And that's basically what my next question was, is for someone, whether it's someone that's wanting to get into modeling, whether it's someone that's wanting to do competitions, someone that wants to do, like you said, the network marketing, any of the things that you've done and kind of got involved in or been very successful at, I should say, honestly, is what do you say to them? And it can be, as I would say, especially a female, because they can take so much directly from you, but as well, just to anyone that's having those ideas of getting into the entrepreneurship lane.
I'll put this for the ladies, because I find that, and this is something that both Marcus and I discovered as we coach. Sometimes people, it's hard for them to look in the mirror and tell themselves that I love you, or I am worthy, I am this, I am that, all these positive things. I don't know if we did it on Saturday. We did it. Did we do it on Saturday?
Marcus was doing it. Nobody was really pitching in.
Nobody did it, but I did it.
I kind of said it under my breath, and I was like, I just knew that I think a lot of people, it was all brand new to where if the people that were in that class we're in the class consistent amount of times together, the comfort of being around each other more. Yeah, I think more people would. But yeah, that like actually speaking the affirmations is what I think you're getting into, right?
Yes, exactly. So like actually looking at yourself in the mirror and like speaking affirmations to yourself. I am love. I am powerful. I am abundance. I have everything I desire. I have an amazing life. I am, all these things. And when you don't have the words to say it for yourself, then put it on YouTube. YouTube, like we listen to YouTube all the time, but it's not just listening to nothing. It's listening to positive things that are feeding our mind to go in the direction that we want it to automatically go, rather than having to fight our thoughts. Our thoughts are already in that positive light because that's what we've trained ourselves to be. So that's what I would say to females. And this is something that I had to do with myself when I decided to make the change of just being a trainer to like actually being a network marketing professional. Was I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, this is not the life that I want. I don't want to just be getting by. Like, I want more. I deserve more. It's like, you got this. So having that connection with oneself and like being your biggest cheerleader, really. I say that to ladies, if you're watching, tell yourself that you love yourself like every single morning until you do. Because I find that so many of us don't. And we don't even realize, we don't even know what it is to love ourselves a lot of times. And the only way that you can is, even if you don't believe it at first, because sometimes you're like, oh, that's corny or whatever, you still got to say it. You still got to have that repetition until you're like, yeah, I believe that. Like, that's what I am.
Yeah, there's so much of what you said. There is things that have become so real to me. And it's that so much of what we say to ourselves and even in our mind, but especially out loud, that a lot of us don't even consider. A lot of people don't talk to themselves out loud at all. I didn't for the longest time. And I do it now after seeing so many different athletes talk about it and successful people, with the people I brought on here, things I've picked up in videos or books or things like that. It's like, it's so impactful to get your mind in a place where you're extremely grateful for where you're at. And also, like you said, comfortable with who you are and the person that the world sees. And once you get past some of those things, we don't realize how much of that clouds up our thoughts and clouds up and slows down our success or our progress on something, because we're thinking about something that doesn't matter. And it's like, I know a lot of times it's like people have to be in somewhat of a happy place, and it probably helps me and you a lot to be in happy relationships. That I think is one of the biggest factors in people's lives, because so many of us need that love and that close connection with someone. But when you can actually get to a point where you feel super grateful for where you're at and super just content with who you are as a person, and even not being content to where you're not trying to get better, but just being content knowing that this is who I am and I'm trying to get better every day, and I'm working. And that's probably what gives people some comfort too as well. Maybe that's why a lot of people don't have that. Like you're saying, maybe that's why some people question or don't really think the best about themselves, is because maybe they aren't trying, or they don't know that they could be doing a little bit each day to try to get a little bit better. Like I talked about it, I think maybe a little bit with Marcus, but other people always say like, man, if you can do one more rep at the gym that day, if you can park a little bit farther in a parking lot when you're going someplace, do something that I picked up from David Goggins, where it's like you just try to do something difficult every day, or do something a little bit better than yesterday. That might be the little tweak that makes somebody feel good about themselves and be able to walk with their chest up, you know what I mean? And say like, I'm worth it, you know what I mean? Or I'm a little bit, I'm more powerful than I know, and I'm happy with who I am because I'm trying. Like, I'm trying to get better. So to me, it makes a ton of sense. And all that you said there has definitely been a little bit different than the previous guests that have came on. And I think it's because you're speaking a little bit more to the females that have a little bit different task to try to deal with when wanting to go after something. But your overall topic and just vibe of just do it, just go. And even that you didn't say that a whole lot directly, but saying over and over when I would ask you things or things you were talking about, you were saying like, I just did it, or I just said I could, or I just said, this is what I'm doing now. This and that. It's like, yeah, you just every time, instead of sitting there and thinking about it and this and that, which is something that I've always been bad for, and I'm still bad for it now, trying to get better at it every day, is that's the same type of vibe that you have, as just like, I'm just going, just doing, just saying you can, just speaking it in, or even telling somebody, if you have to tell someone, oh yeah, I can do that. Like just to get your mind in the right set.
Yeah.
Like everything that I've heard from here, you've impressed me in so many ways with this episode, because I love getting to know people at a deeper level like this. But also there's always little things that I pick up to where I'm like, man, like, so to hear you and like I said from the beginning, how you implemented everything of that A-B concept and something that was instilled in you from your parents, to then talking about being grateful because of where you grew up and coming from Cuba, and where things are not anywhere near this type of level of comfort and everything. It's like you have so many things in you that are driving you for the right reasons. And that's what I love seeing out of meeting you and Marcus, is because it's like you guys get after it and are hustlers and are very entrepreneurial and trying to get to the money, but also at the same time building the right relationships around each other, and also constantly giving those vibes and those thoughts to other people of like, you can be better, you can be happier, talk better to yourself, think better, like so many things that I think there's always a need for more of, that I love seeing. And then even something that I seen in Luis and my producer here and close friend, but also now I see in you too. I also love when I see someone that is speaking a second language as eloquently as you do. So as detailed as you are, how great your vocabulary is on a second language. Because to me, I hate when I hear people say something like, oh, just speak English or this and that to somebody that's foreign or this and that, or like, if you can't speak English, get out of here, this and that, blah, blah. And I'm thinking like, man, if somebody put you in another country right now,
you'd be lost.
Yeah, and especially like I think they don't consider the circumstances as well too. So like a lot of people that come here often are coming here because it's a better situation, or because where they're coming from is really, really rough or really bad. They're trying to come here to do better for themselves or their family or something in that light. And it's like, if all of a sudden things were horrible here and you needed to get out, and the type of people that are saying these things, these, you know what I mean, talking negatively about it, and they needed to just be like, oh man, all of a sudden I got to move to Cuba. All of a sudden I got to move to Russia. All of a sudden I got to move to Puerto Rico, wherever. It's like, you think you're just going to go there and just speak that language right off the bat? Like it's nothing. Like, no, you're going to be learning on the fly. And at the beginning, you're not going to have a clue. So I'm very empathetic to the people that are here thinking like, man, I love that they're just trying to do something better for themselves, and they're trying to do better for their family. And I would be struggling too. But to see someone like you, like Luis, that has not only somewhat fully adapted, but also in a lot of ways you speak better than people that grew up here and that have only spoken English their whole lives. That's always awesome to me too, even though it's something that a lot of people might say is so small or minute. It's like, it just shows your work ethic and a lot of different things. And that's what I saw in him as well early on. It shows the work ethic and just the passion for knowledge and wanting to be better on that avenue too. But overall, this episode and everything, like I said, it makes me gain a ton more respect for you and Marcus together as a team. And I don't know if there's anything else you want to say before we get out of here, but this has been a pleasure to me in a big way.
Thank you. I'm honored. I'm humbled. I'm so happy to be here. It's amazing. And I'll end with one thing. I'm so glad that you brought up the posture, and just feeling great about oneself. And it's scientific studies that talk about how different postures will create different kind of emotional states within you. So if you're sitting like this all day and you're like just going through your day, you're not going to feel great. You're going to feel less than you could if this was your posture. If you smiled, if you looked at yourself in the mirror and said, I'm great. And all you got to do is just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. And then you're going to find yourself feeling to be that person, which in the beginning you're pretending to be. But aren't we all pretending to be something until we are that? So just do it.
Yeah, that exactly what you said with like chest up, shoulders back type of thing. That was the very first post that I put out, like trying to give someone some value from me or from something that I learned. And I got crazy response from it because there was so many people that was like hit me up randomly saying like, man, I always am checking my posture now. And this
posture check.
Yeah. And then I had people hit me up like, man, it really did make me feel better. And this and that. And I'm like, yeah, like you said, there's legit science behind it. There's legit that I think it's dopamine or one of your like happy hormones literally is produced more in you by standing up straight with your shoulders back. So I mean, it's something that's free. It's free.
You just gotta do it.
Just do it. And I think that it goes right back to the same thing in your overall thing of everything and what the podcast has been. Just do it. Just go get it. But this was awesome. I can't thank you enough. And I imagine we'll be seeing more and more of each other for sure.
Man. We'll have to get Luis filming us at the Flex and Chill spot.
I said something to Marcus about that from the jump. I've said something to him about that from the jump. It's happening for sure.
Yeah.
Especially with how dope he is with the video. We'll have some good things
There'll
cooking
be less
for
talking,
sure.
more sweating.
Oh yeah. Like the shirt, right? Like the shirt. I can't thank you enough.
I gotta reach a little bit more.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. She wanted to give the
I went to business school. I learned the handshake.
Gotcha. All right, everybody.